Alright, hello everyone and welcome to the QT League of Legends support lecture. The current patch we're on is 5.9 and we will get right into it. So, about me, my name is Lachlan Spencer, you can just call me Spencer. I am currently ranked Diamond 3. I've been playing since Season 1. I've climbed ranked primarily through support with 80% of my support champions, like 80% of my top 5 most played has always been support champions. So the outline of the lecture today will be tell you about the role, what I think is good, runes, masteries, your goals for the different stages of the game, a few hints and stuff to help you play the role better, resources to learn other resources to help learn or get better, and then question time at the end. Okay, so support, your main roles is to assist your whiny baby carries to apply pressure all around the map, enable your AD carry to farm, deny your opponents from being able to farm, to control high priority targets, and you're the biggest source of vision on your team. Okay. So this is my support tier list for solo queue, not in any particular order. Morgana, she has huge amounts of CC, she scales into an AP mage, she's one of the best. She also has the black shield, the CC immune shield, which allows her to stop your team from being stupid and getting blitz grabbed and stuff. The biggest problem with Morgana is she's really squishy. If she gets caught out, then she's pretty much dead. And good times to pick Morgana is if the enemy has lots of single target CC, like Thresh Hook, I don't know, something like that. Sejuani even works there. And if you're lacking AP. Janna's another really good pick because she can make up for having a really bad carry or carries, because even if they're in a bad position, you can turn the fight around with all of her utility and disengage to make it so that it's a bad situation for the enemy team, because then your AD carry can kill everyone by running in 1v5. Problem with Janna is it's really hard to pick fights by yourself. Unlike some of the other supports, Janna can't actually engage fights, and so if you fall behind, it's really hard to turn a game around with Janna. Best times to pick Janna is when the enemy have super strong all-in, or you have allied hyper carries on your team, such as say Kog'Maw or Hecarim, that can just solo carry the game. Leona is one of my personal favorites for solo queue. She's naturally tanky. She has 3 different CCs in her kit on relatively short cooldowns, and she has probably one of the strongest engages of all support champions. The biggest problem with Leona is once you go in, there's no way you can get out, so you better hope you get a kill or something from it. And you pick her when there's a really strong focus on the enemy backline. Say they have Sona, Kog'Maw, Jinx, and you can just ult all 3 of them and they'll all die in your single combo. And if you have a strong early lane, if you have a really high burst lane like Kog'Maw and Graves, it's really easy to blow people up in a single Leona rotation of spells. Thresh is on here because he has so much in his kit, probably more so than most other supports, but he is very hard to play properly. But even when he's not utilized properly, he's still really good. He has a ton of CC. His Lantern is really strong to reposition your carries. It's better. It's pretty much like Tristana jump for any AD carry. He's just pretty much strong in all situations. You can play him defensively. You can play him aggressively. He's just good for all situations. Again, if Thresh gets jumped on, or if you go in prematurely, then there's no way for Thresh to actually escape unless he blows flash, and that's really sad. And the best times to pick Thresh is really any time, except it is a very unfavorable matchup against Morganas, who know how to black shield. The one I've been playing the most is Nautilus, because he's really tanky. He can generally trade with his high base E damage with most other supports, and he's loaded with CC comparable to that of Leona. Again, he also has no escape unless you get a nice hook on the wall. And you pick him when he's really strong in team fights and you really need to lock down someone such as Katarina. Okay, popular bans. Honestly, these are the most banned for the current patch, but really just ban what you don't really want to play against. For example, I do not want to play against Gragas Sejuani, so I'll ban those, but I also have a strong feelings about versing Morgana, so I generally ban her as well, even though she's not on the list. Okay, Runes, there's not really a set rune page you should use. These are all the various different runes that you can possibly use. You can mix and match whatever your preference is. Personally, I put a strong favoring on AD marks because I like to hit people with auto attacks and bully them out of lane. I generally mix up armor and health because I can. I shove a small amount of mana per 5 in my glyphs, or if I'm playing a really strong like AP scaling support like Annie or Morgana, then I'll run AP in the glyphs, but magic resist works pretty well. And quintessences, I'll usually mix between armor, AD, and AP, depending on who I'm playing. It's really personal preference on like what you want to run. If you want to play more defensively, then choose a more defensive like rune page. Masteries, this is the most standard support mastery page, but you can really pick any combination. You can do 9-0-21 for a bit more like magic damage. You can do 0-21-9 for a super tanky like Leona build. If you really want to play like support Annie and like rush death cap or something, you can do 21-9-0 and just make life hell for the enemy team. The full offensive builds with AP scaling supports is really good for climbing the lower ranks because you can get a lot of kills and then just roam the map with like your Luden's Echo, support Annie, and just blow people up. Oops, I'm going back. Summoners. Flash is pretty much a must for all supports. It increases your playmaking ability and allows for an escape for a lot of the like all-in supports, such as Nautilus and Leona. I like Ignite the most because it enables you to snowball and kill the lane like over and over again. Exhaust is still really good. I pick Exhaust if I'm versing a really oppressive lane like Draven or Graves and I only have a Kog'Maw, or if there's like a Zed or a Katarina on the enemy team that I know is going to get fed. Heal is when your AD carry hates you and picks Cleanse because he's scared of the enemy Leona. So you can pick Heal if you really want. And I miss Clairvoyance. Okay. Main goals for early game is basically you must enable your baby carry to farm. You prevent your enemy carry from farming. You need to help your carry get a lead over the enemy carry. You should be working alongside your jungler to keep vision control over Dragon, as well as the bottom side river, so your mid laner doesn't get ganked and cry all the time. And nearing the end of the early game, you want to be extending your lead to the other lanes, such as mid lane and the enemy jungle. Generally, the early game ends when either one of the bot towers falls for you, and then you start roaming around and taking other objectives. Your mid lane goals is you start to transition your like presence all around the map. Your main mid game goal is to pretty much play as if you are still in bot lane, but you're assisting every lane. So you can go mid to help them farm, deny the enemy. You can go top to help them farm, deny the enemy. You can go gank places with the jungler. You can go gank the enemy jungler with your jungler. And yeah, just if your top lane is struggling, you can go up there, relieve some pressure, go help him out, because then it's a 2v1 lane. Or if like the enemy mid laner is like 0 and 5, you can go walk mid lane and then make them cry and start taking their tower, because they can not fight you like 1v1, let alone 1v2. As you transition into more team fight, like late game, having proper vision, which I'll discuss later, is really crucial on contesting these big objectives such as Baron and Dragon, especially the later dragons like 4, 5 stacks that are really going to turn the tide of the game. While you're warding though, it's very important to not be dead, because the 70-second death timer is going to throw you the game. And you really want to like stay as a general like group. You don't want to go wandering off by yourself, because a late game like Leona is not going to live against a late game Zed. And generally, with all the vision you're putting down, you look for picks, and with these picks you take objectives and you win the game. Yeah, so these are some tips and tricks and stuff for so one of the biggest things that I don't see a lot of supports do, especially like low brackets, is they don't pressure with like their presence in the lane. So they just like sit back and wait for stuff to like happen, where they can deny and like cause like CC indirectly to the enemy team without actually using a spell. So if the video will explain it, which I'll show in a second, but say if I'm Blitzcrank, I'm just going to like walk up to the enemy laner and I'm not actually going to use an ability. I'm just going to walk up to them, and just by walking up, they're going to want to like move back because they don't want to get hit by the hook or the CC or anything. And therefore, they will have to move back. My AD carry can free farm, and they'll have to lose CS. And that is how you, that's a good example of like applying pressure. He literally, because it's Corky and that's Leona, he could walk up and they had to be scared of like Leona's CC. Especially once he hits level 2, where Leona gets 2 forms of CC, especially like a longer range to engage, then they have to go like stand back even further. And now that the enemy bot lane would be 2 kills down on theirs, every time they go back to lane, the Ezreal or just the Leona can just like walk up and stand further up in the wave, and they have to stand further back. Otherwise they'll have to like fear the engage, especially because they don't have summoners anymore. The video for this slide doesn't work. It's been set to private for some reason by the owner, so I can't show you that. But pretty much what happens, another thing, you can use your presence to help land skill shots. So by walking up to someone, it forces them to be scared and they run in like predictable or like stupid ways. So if I'm playing Blitzcrank and I'm going to walk up to the enemy AD carry, they're going to start swerving to try and dodge the hook, which means they're going to cover less distance. I'm running in a straight line and they're swerving. So then I'll just walk up to them and then eat them and then land the easy hook after they flash because they're like, oh shit, Blitzcrank got to me. So pretty much on the video, there's a Xin Zhao. There's a Twisted Fate fighting a Xin Zhao, and the Morgana is coming to gank the Twisted Fate. And pretty much what happens is the Morgana walks up to Twisted Fate and just like throws a binding from like max range, and Twisted Fate just like flashes it. Whereas what Morgana should have done in that situation is she just walks straight up right next to Twisted Fate because it's 2v1 in her favor, so there's no like real danger for her. So she can literally walk right up to Twisted Fate, and he starts pathing weird because he's like, okay, she's going to Q now, 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 and he just gets really confused. And like, he's holding his flash this entire time while Xin Zhao's like beating on him. And then once Morgana walks up like into max range, into like melee range, Twisted Fate will either flash or he'll just die because it's a melee range binding and you can't dodge that. Another thing to help with like landing skill shots is you aim from like low vision areas. If you're say on the blue side, like the blue side bot lane, you can, if you're playing like Thresh or Morgana, you can stand behind that like big wall up near Tribrush, and they would probably won't have vision in there unless they have Tri-warded, and then you can throw skill shots from there, and it's really easy to like land. Or if you land like slows and stuff, it makes it really easy to land skill shots. Or you can flash into melee range to surprise them, because there's no way they're going to dodge Morgana bind if you flash right into their face. Big thing for solo queue is to abuse level 2. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're Soraka, if you're Janna, if you're Alistar, if you're Thresh, level 2 is always key, because even if you can't make something from level 2, it'll prevent the enemy from making something from level 2. Because if you're Soraka and you're versing Leona, you're probably not going to engage the Leona, even if you hit level 2 first, but it's better than them hitting level 2 first and engaging on you. So to hit level 2, it's 1 wave and 3 melee minions. Always count what minions have been killed on both sides, so you know when they're gonna hit level 2. And if they have a really strong lane, like Morgana Jinx or something, that are gonna heavily lock you down at level 2, if you see them about to hit level 2, then you just need to ping back your AD carry and just like leave the wave alone. Go back to your tower, because the wave will end up pushing to your tower. So this video is just a nice like showing of like Thresh hitting like level. Oh, wait, PowerPoint. So level 2 is very important. So with the current season and the game taking a more like team play centered approach to winning, you can't really like solo carry game 1v5 anymore. One of the newer support strategies is roaming, which a lot of people aren't taking advantage of. So there's no reason to be like sitting in lane by yourself unless there's like there's no reason to be sitting in lane with your AD carry if you're not doing anything. Like if you're protecting them, then that's all well and good, stay in the lane. But if they're in the if you push the enemy lane back and they're sitting there farming, and you're like well enough HP, then you should just go roam mid lane and see if you can get a kill there. You might be able to blow a flash. You're just creating by leaving the lane, you're creating pressure, and the enemy mid laner, the enemy jungler will have to be wary of where you're going. So the best, you'll really get a feel after like looking for like times to roam when you need to. But some good like things are, if your AD carry is pushed up and ahead, if they're able to not die 1v2 to the enemy lane, then you can go roam. You can even go as far as to roam top lane if you really want, once you get like mobility boots. If the AD carry is free farming by themselves, say you've lost your tower and the minions are just pushed up and like the enemy lane is like nowhere near, then you can go roam. There's no reason for you to just sit in lane. It's worth it more to like have you lose levels and create pressure elsewhere on the map than just to sit in bot and do nothing. If the enemy support has left lane and you see him like with wards and stuff, then you can follow him or go for an aggressive play on the enemy AD carry. But I did play a game where the enemy support was roaming a lot, and I made sure to ward the river, and I just followed him everywhere he roamed and just counter ganked every time he tried to gank, and it won us the game. When the towers are destroyed, you generally both want to move to another lane to start pushing, because there's no way you're going to be able to like push the second tier tower while like mid lane is still like healthy and fine, because then you just get ganked by 5 people and cry. One thing to do when you roam though is to ward for your baby AD carry, because if you roam and the AD carry dies, then he's going to yell at you for not being in the lane, and it'll be his fault, but he won't think that. Trading is trading was gone over explicitly in the AD carry lecture as well. Pretty much the good windows to trade is auto. Try and like walk up and like auto or cast spells on the enemy AD carry when they're trying to last hit, because while they're last hitting, they're stuck in their like auto animation to get the last hit, so they can't effectively trade back. If you're taking hits from the enemy like lane, you have to like trade back, otherwise you're just taking free damage and you're going to get pushed out of lane really easily. Don't trade into their minions, so don't walk into their full minion wave and start like punching them, because then the minions will turn around and like hit you a lot harder than the enemy champions would ever do. If they're constantly aggressing onto you, then like start kiting back into your minions, so they'll take your minion aggro, and then you'll win like every trade, because the minions do as like much damage as champions in the early like levels of the game. If your AD carry is trading, then try and trade with him. Don't just be like sitting around in the bush while your AD carry is like up fighting, because then they're just going to get 1v2'd and die. And with supports taking kills, if you take a kill, it's no big deal. Try and save it for the AD carry, but getting the kill gold is a lot better than them escaping. So don't just like, I see this way too much, where supports just kind of like walk next to the person, waiting for the AD carry to take it, and then the enemy runs under tower and gets away. And then you feel very sad. Okay, so items, there's no static item build ever. It's really versatile. So these are like some examples of items, and like when you get them, if there's lots of enemy AD, then you build armor items, random ones, frozen heart are good. If you have lots of like ally AD, it actually makes Zeke's Herald a worthwhile buy if you have like 3 AD champions on your team. Strong enemy like pick potential, like Morgana Thresh, you can build Mikhail's, and it nullifies the whole point of that. If you have a lot of like engage, so you have a Gnar and a Shyvana on your team, then you can build Righteous Glory to make engages a lot easier. There's lots of enemy AP, build a locket, Banner of Command, you get the Legion Aura, give your entire team magic resist. For starting items, you generally want to start either Relic Shield or the blue one, Stealthy Sedge, and then a varying amount of potions. Generally it's 3 potions and 1 mana pot, or you can do 4 health potions, or whatever you feel comfortable with doing that. And then the Warding Totem. Once you get your Sightstone, upgrade to the Sweeper, and then upgrade that Sweeper to the Oracle's Lens as soon as you hit level 9. Never start with Ancient Coin, because it gives you absolutely no combat stats, and regen does nothing for you in lane compared to the health and AP that the other 2 give. But the Talisman, the final, yes?
Well, how do you feel about Ruby Crystal Jewel stuff?
I can see it working, especially on like the tankier supports, like Alistair, Leona, because you'll be able to just like take much more, and you'll be a lot more imposing.
And like earlier Sightstone.
Yeah, you'll get the earlier Sightstone too. That was a big thing last season, actually. A lot of people were doing that. Yes?
Do you think it's worth starting spell tips on someone like General?
Yeah, definitely. The early AP helps your shield a bit, and you can auto attack, like, because you'll be auto attack trading with Janna with the shield and stuff, so you'll get the gold from it. And even though on Janna, like, the Talisman of Ascension will be really good, like, generally stuff like Janna or like Alistair Thresh, stuff like that might want Talisman of Ascension for the move speed later on. And if you're aiming to go for that item later, then you just stay on like your first bought support item and then upgrade it all later. But there's really no reason to buy the
when do you switch
coin.
it though?
When you want to buy it.
Should you wait until you have enough gold to upgrade the talisman? Because
You don't want to.
I mean, with that by itself, it's not really useful.
Yeah.
So, do you want to wait until you have enough gold until you can?
If I'm upgrading it, I will either wait till I have enough to buy the, because I'll rarely buy talisman first. Yeah.
So if you want to switch it, wouldn't you want to wait until you have that, or the upgraded version of that?
This is the final upgraded version.
Or you just want to buy that outright?
You can buy it outright, but I would wait till I get the upgraded version of this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's when I'll switch. Or I'll buy talisman outright if I happen to have enough gold. Sometimes it happens if you're like having fights a lot. Okay. So vision is primarily your job, and it's one of the biggest ways supports have always been able to control games is by their vision control. Generally, there's two main reasons you want vision: to be able to see what the enemies are doing, and to see any ways to contest for objectives, such as Baron and Dragon. So the best ways to see what the enemy is doing is to ward the jungle entrances, and like objectives, you obviously put like a ward on like Baron and Dragon. A good goal to have is to have the max limit of wards out at all times, 3 normal wards, 1 pink ward. Make sure you're always looking at your sight stone to see that you have 3 wards like down, like on the field at all times. There's a video here, but I'm not going to go through it. It's a 40-minute video purely on warding for people that want to look later, but I will be going through like a basic like idea with warding with this. So pretty much for your standard like bot lane wards, assuming we're blue side, so generally you'll use a pink ward as like your passive ward. So generally your standard pink ward spot will be here or like up here. And then your green wards will go like here or like in this bush or like up near dragon to see if they're going to do dragon, because there are some junglers that like to take really early dragons like Fiddlesticks, Nunu, and Vi. And then to note with warding, as you move up on the map, so say you're pushing the enemy AD carry and support under tower, then you want to move like your ward coverage up, so you'll move like your wards up to like here and into their jungle. And then if you're pushed up, you want to put like a pink ward like in the bush here, because then otherwise top lane is going to teleport down and you're going to be dead. And then it's like mirrored for like the map. So if you're red side, then obviously the pink wards will be on this side and the green wards will be like more into the enemy jungle. And if you're an AD carry, you should also be buying pink wards, because it adds so much like safety and like protection. But so just good places is like you can put like a ward here and like here, and that generally sees like all the roots in like the blue side jungle, like because they'll see them coming through here, like coming through here. It just gives like all this like, you just want to cover as many like possible routes like through the jungle as possible. And like if you're like pushing them back, like if your whole team is like winning and like forming like this line rather, then you want to keep pushing your wards further back, because there's no point having wards in the river when they're all like stuck at their like inner towers, because then you're not seeing anything. So yeah, just like ward the enemy jungle, know where they're doing stuff. Pink wards should primarily be used on objectives, so they're like permanently there, they're always there. But you can do some like weird like offensive like pink wards in places they won't check. Like you can put like a pink ward here, because very rarely they'll come through and check that bush, so you'll always have the vision there. And I could go on forever about warding, but I'm not going to go too deep on it. But just always ward where you're fighting, because there's no point having fully warding up the enemy like blue side jungle if you're all like wanting to contest around Baron, because then you have no vision here and they're not going to be around here because they're all wanting to like fight Baron with you. So just ward up like where the enemy will be and like where you're wanting to like fight. Oh, damn it. Wasting time. So one of the easiest ways to like improve is just to always be like aiming to do something. There's like a lot of people that have like lots of dead time where they're just like wandering around wondering what to do. This applies to any roles, like junglers, they're just like wandering around, they're like, should I gank, should I farm? They're trying to make ganks happen and it just doesn't work. So all your actions, try and make sure that all your actions have a purpose, like have like a reason why you're doing something. If you're going mid, make sure there's like a reason you're going mid. If you're sitting in lane, make sure there's a reason you're sitting in lane. Try to think like ahead of time what's going to happen. So you like look at the map, see like jungler's missing, be like, could they gank me? What am I going to do if they do gank me? What am I going to do if they show up somewhere else? And just don't be doing like stuff without a reason. How to improve at League of Legends. Read guides for like basic understanding of like the role. I personally don't find that they help that much with the dynamic nature of the game, but it's good to see like at a basic level what you need to do. Watch good people or like professionals analyze like what they do and like the reasoning behind why they're doing anything, and then apply what they're doing to your own play. So like if you see them do something, then try and mimic what they're doing, and then analyze your play. So if this isn't working, why isn't it working? Find a way to make it work, or like try something different. And that's the easiest way that I found to improve, is just like analyzing, seeing what good people do, doing it yourself, and then making sure you understand why it works. For other resources, there's not that many like really good support like players or like resources around there, but Impakt does a pretty good job of like doing stuff. He does lots of support orientated. He does lots of videos on like how to roam, how to trade, freezing waves, stuff like that. C9Fi and PantsAreDragon are just general information YouTubers. They do all kinds of stuff, lots of general stuff about the game. They'll do stuff for like support, they'll do stuff for all these other roles too. Jibe99 has a lot of videos, especially his older videos, on like ranked mindset and how to like get in a good mindset for like playing ranked, because if you're in a bad mindset, then you're going to get angry and you're going to tilt and everyone's going to call you Andre. Streamers, there's not really like, CLG Aphromoo is probably the best support streamer just because he's informative and entertaining and he shows a high level of play. He is probably the one I would watch the most. I'm not sure how much Crepo streams anymore since he's retired, but he was a pretty good information source. For he would commentate a lot on like what he's doing, but I don't know how often he's streaming anymore. Lustboy's stream can be kind of dull because he doesn't really speak that much, but he's very good to watch because he's really good, and he's a really good roaming support, so he's good at making plays across the map. Remilia, she doesn't stream that much, but she's a very talented Thresh player, and she streams very rarely though, and very like randomly. Websites that I use, OPGG is like a better LoL king. It tells you all the player stats, gives you like the whole LoL nexus, see what they're in game, what their ranks are. You can check win rates, all the champions they play and stuff. And Pro Builds is a website that shows what pros are playing, shows the build orders, what runes, what masteries they're using for like each game, as well as what their matchups are, so you can see specific like what they're playing. If you're like new to a champion, I'll just go on Pro Builds, say I'm playing Kassadin, and be like, oh, what's Bjergsen playing Kassadin with, and see what he's playing. So yeah.